Let us make a recap. Recap of tests for parallelogram. A quadrilateral is a parallelogram if its pairs of opposite angles are congruent. A quadrilateral is a parallelogram if its pairs of opposite sides are congruent. A quadrilateral is a parallelogram if its diagonals bisect each other. A quadrilateral is a parallelogram if a pair of its opposite sides is parallel and congruent. Now coming to the solved examples. Example 1. Quadrilateral PQRS is a parallelogram. M is the midpoint of side PQ and N is the midpoint of side RS. Prove that quadrilateral PMNS and quadrilateral MQRN are parallelograms. Given quadrilateral PQRS is a parallelogram, M and N are the midpoints of side PQ and side RS respectively. To prove quadrilateral PMNS is a parallelogram and quadrilateral MQRN is a parallelogram. Look at figure 5.19. Side PQ is parallel to side SR. Because you are given quadrilateral PQRS is a parallelogram. The opposite sides are parallel. So we get side PQ is parallel to side SR. Therefore, side PM is parallel to side SN because M lies between P and Q and N lies between S and R. So we can write the previous statement as side PM is parallel to side SN. Side PQ is congruent to side SR because of the definition of parallelogram. The opposite sides are congruent. The opposite sides are parallel as well as congruent. So here side PQ is parallel to side SR. First of all we are taken. Now we are taking side PQ is congruent to side SR. Now PQ is equal to SR. Multiply by half on both the sides. So half PQ will be equal to half of SR. Half of PQ will be equal to half of SR. What is half of side PQ? It is side PM because we are given that M is the midpoint of side PQ. And what is half of side SR? It is side SN because it is given that N is the midpoint of side RS. Now take this to be the second equation. Your first equation is side PM is parallel to side SN. Now the second equation is side PM is congruent to side SN. Therefore from equations 1 and 2, quadrilateral PM and Q is a parallelogram. By the test of parallelogram. A quadrilateral is a parallelogram if a pair of its opposite sides is parallel and congruent. Is one of the tests for parallelogram. A quadrilateral is a parallelogram if a pair of its opposite sides is parallel and congruent. This is one of the tests for parallelogram. Similarly, we can prove that quadrilateral MQRN is a parallelogram. Now coming to the next one. Example 2. Points D and E are the midpoints of side AB and side AC of triangle ABC respectively. Point F is on ray ED such that ED is equal to DF. Prove that quadrilateral AFBE is a parallelogram. So for given you can write, look at the figure. In triangle ABC, D and E are the midpoints of side AB and side AC respectively, and ED is equal to DF. It is given as the first two lines in this problem, so copy that for given. In triangle ABC, D and E are the midpoints of side AB and side AC respectively, and ED is equal to DF. Now under to prove you have to write quadrilateral AFB is a parallelogram. To prove quadrilateral AFB is a parallelogram. Now coming to the proof. Segment AB and segment EF are the diagonals of quadrilateral AFB. So in the first box you have to write the diagonals. Segment AD is congruent to segment DB. You have to write the reason. Right? Since D is the midpoint of AB. Since D is the midpoint of AB. Now come to the third box. Segment DE is congruent to, in the fourth box you will get segment DF. Segment DE is congruent to segment DF because of what is given, right? Given, not construction. Cut off construction and write given. Therefore, diagonals of quadrilateral AFBE bisect each other. In this box you will be writing bisect. Therefore, quadrilateral AFBE is a parallelogram by test of parallelogram. By test of parallelogram. Cut off the test which is given in the question and write in the box by test of parallelograms. In the last box you will write by test of parallelogram. And by which test? A quadrilateral is a parallelogram if its diagonals bisect each other. Now coming to the third one. Prove that every rhombus is a parallelogram. You are given quadrilateral ABCD is a rhombus. You have to prove quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram. Look at figure 5.21. Segment AB is congruent to segment BC is congruent to segment CD is congruent to segment DA is given. Because quadrilateral ABCD is a rhombus. All the sides are congruent in a rhombus. So you get segment AB is congruent to segment BC is congruent to segment CD is congruent to segment DA. Now pick up two pairs like this. Segment AB is congruent to segment CD and segment BC is congruent to segment AD. Here they are sides. So you can write side AB is congruent to side CD and side BC is congruent to side AD. Therefore, quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram. Because you have to write the reason. Opposite side test for parallelogram. Opposite side test for parallelogram. That is otherwise, a quadrilateral is a parallelogram if its pairs of opposite sides are congruent. A quadrilateral is a parallelogram if its pairs of opposite sides are congruent. Now coming to practice set 5.2. So the first question. In figure 5.2, quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram. P and Q are midpoints of side AB and DC respectively. Then prove quadrilateral APCQ is a parallelogram. Now let us prove this. You have to write what is given and what is to be proved. I will not give it, just I will give the hint you have to write. Given Given quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram, P and Q are midpoints of side AB and DC respectively, then you have to write to prove quadrilateral APCQ is a parallelogram. You have to write in the notebook. As I say, you write. Take your notebooks and write. Given quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram, P and Q are midpoints of side AB and DC respectively. To prove quadrilateral APCQ is a parallelogram. It is there in the question. But you have to write in the proper format. Given, then to prove. I suppose you would have understood. Take your notebook and write properly. Now, below that you write proof. Quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram. Within brackets you have to write given. Quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram. Within brackets you have to write given. In the next line you write according to the definition of parallelogram. Segment AB, write segment here, it is missing. Segment AB is congruent to segment CD. Write segment here, SEG. Seg AB is congruent to seg CD and AB is parallel to CD by definition of parallelogram. Within brackets you write by the definition of parallelogram. Then you can write now P and Q are midpoints of AB and CD respectively. Within brackets given. Right, within brackets given. Therefore, seg AP is congruent to seg CQ and that means segment AP is congruent to segment CQ and AP is parallel to CQ. Within bracket you write by definition of P and Q are midpoints of AB and CD respectively is the reason for this. So you need not write any reason for this, right? AP is congruent to CQ, segment AP is congruent to segment CQ you have to write and AP is parallel to CQ. Thus, quadrilateral APCQ is a parallelogram. Within brackets you write by the test for parallelogram. What is the test? A quadrilateral is a parallelogram if a pair of its opposite sides is parallel and congruent. Now coming to question number 2. Using opposite angles test for parallelogram, prove that every rectangle is a parallelogram. You have to use the opposite angles test for parallelogram and prove that every rectangle is a parallelogram. Opposite angles test means you have to use a quadrilateral is a parallelogram if its pairs of opposite angles are congruent. This is the opposite angles test for parallelogram. So using this test you have to prove that every rectangle is a parallelogram. So directly you should not write the answer, you have to write what is given, what is to be proved and then the proof. In that format only it has to be written compulsorily. So write now in your notebook given, I can help you to write given quadrilateral ABCD is a rectangle. Given quadrilateral ABCD is a rectangle, you can draw a quadrilateral ABCD beside. Just draw a quadrilateral ABCD beside. Now to prove, right? To prove quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram. Once again I repeat, right? Given quadrilateral ABCD is a rectangle. Given quadrilateral ABCD is a rectangle. To prove quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram. Draw a quadrilateral ABCD. Just a four-sided figure you draw and mark ABCD. Now write proof. Quadrilateral ABCD is a rectangle. Within brackets you write given. Therefore, measure of angle A is equal to measure of angle B of angle C is equal to measure of angle D is equal to 90 degrees. Within brackets you write, since angles of a rectangle. Within bracket you write, since angles of a rectangle. Now in rectangle ABCD, two steps are not mentioned here. I am dictating, you write. Then I have just given the hints. Then only you will get practice to write. Now write. In rectangle ABCD, angle A is congruent to angle C and angle B is congruent to angle D. The next line you write. First of all you write this. Measure of angle A is equal to measure of angle C is equal to 90 degrees. Measure of angle B is equal to measure of angle D is equal to 90 degrees. Therefore, angle A is, write that statement here. Angle A is congruent to angle C and angle B is congruent to angle D. Therefore, rectangle ABCD is a parallelogram. Within brackets you write, a quadrilateral is a parallelogram if its opposite angles are congruent. A quadrilateral is a parallelogram if its opposite angles are congruent. Prove that quadrilateral formed by the intersection of angle bisectors of all angles of a parallelogram is a rectangle. Look at the figure. Figure 5.24 in your textbook. You have to write what is given, what is to be proved. I have given you practice. Now you can write what is given and what is to be proved. Now coming to the proof. Quadrilateral ABCD is a parallelogram is given. Interior angles on the same side of the transversal are supplementary. Therefore, measure of angle BAD plus measure of angle CDA is equal to 180 degrees. Look at the figure. AB is parallel to DC because quadrilateral ABCD is given to be a parallelogram. Opposite sides are parallel. You have to write that. And let us take side AD to be the transversal. So line AD is the transversal. Then you get measure of angle BAD plus measure of angle CDA is equal to 180 degrees. Interior angles on the same side of the transversal are supplementary. Now multiply on both sides by half. So half of measure of angle BAD plus half of measure of angle CDA is equal to half of 180 degrees. What is half of measure of angle BAD? We have angle bisectors here. Ray AS is the angle bisector of angle BAD. So you can write, instead of half of angle BAD, you can write measure of angle SAD. Similarly, instead of half of angle CDA, look at measure of angle CDA first of all. Ray DS is the angle bisector of angle CDA. So half of measure of angle CDA can be written as measure of angle SDA. I am selecting SDA for a purpose. to be equation number 1. Now in the next line you have to write in triangle SAD. In triangle SAD. Many things I have not given. I have asked you to write because you should have the practice of writing the theorems. Simply you cannot go on spoon feeding. You need a homework also. So you write now in triangle SAD. Measure of angle SAD plus measure of angle SDA plus measure of angle ASD is equal to 180 degrees. Within brackets you can write sum of the measures of the angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. Now what is measure of angle SAD? Measure of angle SAD plus measure of angle SDA is given to be 90 degrees in equation number 1. Pick up that and replace here. So, instead of measure of angle SAD plus measure of angle SDA, replace by 90 degrees because of equation 1. So you get 90 degrees plus measure of angle ASD is equal to 180 degrees. Therefore, measure of angle ASD will be equal to 180 degrees minus 90 degrees, that is equal to 90 degrees. Now, see the vertically opposite angle, angle PSR. So, you can write angle PSR is equal to 90 degrees because angle PSR is the vertically opposite angle to angle ASD. Similarly, we can prove angle PQR is equal to 90 degrees. Now, similarly, measure of angle DAB plus measure of angle CBA is equal to 180 degrees. If you are taking AD is parallel to BC and line AB to be the transversal, you get measure of angle DAB plus measure of angle CBA is equal to 180 degree. Freshly you write that, don't write implies there. Now, multiply by half throughout, you will get half of measure of angle DAB plus half of measure of angle CBA is equal to half of 180 degrees. But what is half of measure of angle DAB? Look at the figure. See measure of angle DAB there. Ray AS is the angle bisector of DAB. So half of measure of angle DAB will be equal to BAR. Now I am taking this angle BAR. Now half of measure of angle CBA. Now take measure of angle CBA. Ray BR is the angle bisector. So half of angle CBA will become measure of angle RBA. I am taking this angle RBA. So we get it to be equal to half into 180 degrees, that means 90 degrees. Now take triangle ABR. In triangle ABR, measure of angle BAR plus measure of angle RBA plus measure of angle ARB is equal to 180 degrees because angle sum property. We have used sum of the measures of the angles in the triangle is 180 degrees. Write the reason over there. Therefore, 90 degrees plus measure of angle ARB is equal to 180 degrees. See, the second equation is measure of angle BAR plus measure of angle RBA is equal to 90 degrees. That you take the second equation. Take measure of angle BAR plus measure of angle RBA is equal to 90 degrees as the second equation. Now substitute here. In triangle ABR we have measure of angle BAR plus measure of angle RBA plus measure of angle ARB is equal to 180 degrees. In that, instead of measure of angle BAR plus measure of angle RBA, you substitute 90 degrees. So you will get that equation becomes 90 degrees plus measure of angle ARB is equal to 180 degrees. Therefore, measure of angle ARB is equal to 180 degrees minus 90 degrees, that is equal to 90 degrees. Similarly, you can prove measure of angle DPC is also equal to 90 degrees. Thus, we have proved PQRS is a rectangle. Because all the measures of the angles of PQRS we have got as 90 degrees. Each angle of quadrilateral PQRS is of 90 degrees. So PQRS is a rectangle. You write the symbol quadrilateral here. Thus quadrilateral, put a small square like. Thus quadrilateral PQRS is a rectangle.